Greetings. How are we going? It's been a couple of days between videos. I'm Johnny King here from Middle New Zealand. Probably the first spring feeling like summer day. And so, again, no scarf because, well, it would just be too hot. It'll be too hot to handle, and it's certainly not too cold to hold. Yeah, I know, ripping a line off, Chloe Brown, show my age. This video, if I haven't already given the indication with the title, just a bit of a recap of round 2, looking at round 3, realised round 3 began this morning, and so I'm a little behind the times. Happens. And so let's just talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about where we've gone and some of the matches, and then let's look forward and consider what will transpire, what could transpire in this round 3 as we'll describe it. So looking back at round 2, I've got my phone here and it indicates, it provides me with the type of information I need to be able to make some type of logical sense. So France or Uruguay, round 2. Uruguay gave a lot more. In fact, I enjoyed watching Uruguay play, or Uruguay, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And they offered a lot more for the French, and encouraging to see them play. So that was a positive result, even though France did the business, and Uruguay certainly gave more than what maybe you perceived that they would. That was followed by New Zealand and Namibia. New Zealand, pretty good for 60, 70 minutes, I thought. I've given a first take. I didn't give a second take on this. And the more I watched it, the more that I thought, yeah, it's pretty solid. There's still some areas around the discipline and just those fine-tuned facets of the rugby code, which are really important, especially when you're under pressure. But a good bonus point win. Samoa, Chile. I was looking forward to seeing Chile play again after watching them versus Japan and thinking they offered quite a bit. However, Samoa came out with a bit of force and a first up hit for Samoa, a positive hit for Samoa. And they have Argentina, I believe. We'll get to that. That's going to be one of the clashes to watch. Wales, Portugal. Well, if we're looking at matches of the round, that is up there. Now, there's one that probably takes the cake for most people, but Wales, Portugal was a really good watch. And I was impressed with the endeavour of the Portuguese. I have a contact online who thought I'd enjoy watching their style of play. And it was certainly hectic and all about the expression, making the ball sing, plenty of movement, plenty of invigoration on the rugby field. So I enjoyed Portugal, even though Wales came through and won it, pretty well, pretty solidly. Ireland, Tonga. Well, Tonga's an interesting one. Got some All Blacks, ex-All Blacks now in their fold, and some others as well, I believe, from memory off the top. But still not enough time probably together, and you could see that. A lot of good individuals. Charles Piutau with one hectic sidestep in particular. And in fact, he had more than that, but one in particular. Broke the defender's ankles pretty resoundingly. So, a good win for Ireland, but I thought that Tonga opened the door a lot through their own mistakes and through their own, I would describe it as rustiness, just in terms of there wasn't the same cohesion. Whereas Ireland are like the machine of world rugby. Tonga, you can just see they just need more time together and more opportunity to play together. So South Africa, Romania, the next day, to be expected. South Africa again showing good form. And the match of the round, Australia, Fiji. What do you think of Australia, Fiji? I was surprised with how dominant Fiji were. Not that they won, but how they won. I mean, I think the scoreboard flattered the Australians. The Australian first try I was surprised actually. The referee didn't see what was right in front of him. I think it was the Arnold boy, the lock, playing the ball on the ground, playing the man on the ground, and that's how they scored their try. That was the sort of the turnover. It was right there in front of him. So, yeah, really was surprised how Fiji were so strong and so solid in the set phases, and not just the starting unit, but maybe even the bench. The scrum got stronger. I'm not sure if that is a fair encapsulation, but it certainly didn't get any weaker. So Fiji, knowing they had to win, coming out and beasting the Wallabies, and Eddie now in survival mode. In the last clash, England-Japan. Japan showed a bit. At the end, the scoreboard, if you just looked at the score, you'd think, okay, England, pretty comprehensive, but it was pretty close. Japan will be disappointed with the first try they gave up from a line-out. And the scoreboard was close enough where if they had have been able to get another try and maybe even get in front, then it could have made the last sort of 10 minutes of the contest interesting. So that's round 2. This morning, Italy, Uruguay. We talked about Uruguay, and in front at half time. And potential. Good to see. However, Italy were able to finish it. So coming up, France, Namibia. That's tomorrow morning. You expect France to put a pretty solid score on Namibia. One of the matches of the round, if the first 2 rounds have had maybe one really strong contest, maybe 2, I think this has more contests where you're thinking, there's potential there. Argentina, Samoa. Argentina have to win. Samoa win, and I think they're in a pretty strong position to go through with England from Pool D. So Argentina, Samoa should be a really interesting and absorbing contest. There should be a lot of intensity. The Argentinians don't mind contact, and we know that Samoa enjoy the physicality as well. So that's one to look for. Georgia, Portugal. Mentioned about enjoying watching Portugal play. Can Portugal push Georgia? This could be similar to Italy, Uruguay, where Georgia come through in the end, but Portugal are in front for a period. So we'll see. England, Chile. You expect England to be able to navigate that and pull in front and stay in front. Chile will offer some. Bit disappointed in their maybe performance against Samoa after round 1, but a lot to expect, isn't it? The step up. But the match of the round, and the next 2 after it aren't too bad either, but the match of the round is South Africa, Ireland. Now, if all things go according to plan, which is a pretty good indication that all things won't go according to plan, but just say they do. Let's just assume. Let's make a donkey of ourselves, but let's assume. Then the winner goes to play the All Blacks. And the loser is playing France. Not an easy choice. So it's going to be absorbing. 7-1. Rassie and Neneba gone for the 7-1 on the bench, which is eliciting a bit of feedback from some who get excited. And actually a lot of feedback from those who are part of the Republican Army. I'm talking about South Africans. They get invigorated by this decision. Maybe even more so than most of those who are watching and observing. But it's interesting to see, because there are some, like Matt Williams is one, I think, who's offered quite a bit of feedback. And I see some feedback even from others as well. And we'll be absorbing. It will be an absorbing contest to see how can the heavy metal jacket of the South Africans, can it assert itself onto the Irish so that they're suffocated from the way they play. Not just by the force of the forward pack, but just by the nature of that oppressive type of coming at you in defence and style of play. Can the Irish cope? That's going to be fascinating to see. And then on Monday, Scotland-Tonga. Now we talk about Tonga. Scotland, if they open the door and allow Tonga some room to breathe, we're going with that breathing again, but they allow them to get in front, and there's enough class in that Tongan team to be able to finish what they've started. If they're able to do that, it could get interesting at the 60-minute mark. And then finally, if South Africa Ireland doesn't get you, then Wales versus Australia. Well, can Australia win another test match in 2023? They have to win this. If Wales win this, then I think it's pretty assured or pretty secure or pretty likely that Wales and Fiji go through in Pool C. So, a lot riding on it for Eddie. Be hard for him to be able to maintain the rage if they get heave-hoed out early and are unable to knock the Welsh off. So this could go, historically you'd go, okay, Australia will come through and they'll be able to navigate it, but the Welsh showed some against Fiji. Say what you want about the end or say what you want about some of the decisions, but they did show something. Probably, and more so than what the Aussies showed against Fiji. So if that's your anchor point, if that's your comparative point, then it is game on. So what do you think? Maybe round 2, the clash you enjoyed the most. And maybe we'll just assume it's Australia-Fiji. But the one that you're looking forward to the most in round 3. You know, the two that probably stand out are South Africa, Ireland, Wales versus Australia. So South Africa v Ireland, Wales v Australia. But also Argentina, Samoa is another. So you've got B, C, and then D. You've got Pool A. Well, we don't have... Probably the next one coming up is next weekend, when the All Blacks take on Italy. But in B, C, and D, we have a pretty crucial clash. And I think Georgia, Portugal can offer something as well. Offer more than what you necessarily expect into Pool C as well. So what do you think? What are your thoughts? It's getting warm. I'll tell you what, we'll be in shorts soon. And fortunately, you get the sort of this area up. Otherwise, you know, it could be like put on your glasses because break out the shorts, then the lily white legs. Anyway, it's enough mental impact, enough mental deliberations for you. Maybe you just will stick to the rugby. Anyway, enough from me. I'm Johnny King. What say you? Thank you for watching and listening.